Hello, happy Wednesday. It's Today is the fourth episode, and I wanted to talk to you about mental health. Is a topic that we all know about it now, and it's very common to hear about it. But for such a long time, I didn't think that I would be affected by it. I felt that the simple fact that I'm a very positive person, that I'm very optimistic, that maybe I was going to be able to kind of like um, stay away from that and never feel it. But I want to share with you that the pandemic did open my eyes to a lot of situations. And throughout 2020 and 2021, I began to feel and question a lot of things about me, like the way that it was so difficult for me to say no, for me to, um, I'm always there willing to help anyone. And of course, it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, when you do it, when you do so much before doing things for you, it can be bad. And for 2020 and 2021, while I was going through all that, the excuse that I would give myself would more than likely be, well, you know what? Everyone's going through it right now. It's something new. It's something that is affecting everyone. This pandemic is um, showing us something different from us. So I kind of like ignored it and placed it aside and didn't really question it much. But then after the pandemic, after 2020, 2021, 2022 came, and I it just something wasn't right. And when I say something wasn't right, I really can't put my finger on it because I was still happy. I felt very blessed. I was working from home. I was with all my family. No one really um everyone got sick with COVID, but it wasn't really bad for none of us, thank God. So I was very blessed apart from all that. I was like, I get to work from home. I get to be with my family 24/7. So I was very blessed and very happy. I had like a routine going on. We would wake up, work out, we would work, and then after working, we would spend time together, work, and we would work out again, and became very active. It wasn't bad. It was actually good. It was very different from what I was doing before. Before I was always, hey, do you want to go out? Yes. Do you want to go out to eat? Yes. It was always like yes, yes to everything, and never um, took the time to question if I really wanted to do stuff, if I really wanted to go out. I was just ready to say yes to everything. Kind of like felt like I didn't want to offend anyone, I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So when 2022 comes, we're back at work, we're back at the office. So that was great because I was able to separate my home from work. So that was good. But then something happened in 2022 that made me kind of like question where I stood. Like, why, like, once again, are, why is it so difficult for me to say no? Why do I always have to say yes to everything? So, whenever I began to question that, my first step was to kind of like step away. And the very first thing that I decided to do was before saying yes, I studied the question, and if it didn't resonate, if I really didn't want to do it, I wouldn't do it. So that was the first start. And then I began to um, listen to conversations. Like I would listen to coworkers, I would listen to friends about what they were going to, and that helps you because it makes you realize that you're not the only one that's going through things. So that was very helpful. In one of these conversations, one of my friends was like, well, you know what? I've been doing some therapy, and it's via Zoom, and it has helped me a lot because it does give you a different perspective. So then I was like, okay, I think I want to do it. So she provided me with her therapist information. And I guess for me, it was very important to have someone that understood the Mexican background, So I have my therapies with someone that lives in Mexico. So whenever I did the first session, it was like an immediate like connection. It felt like she understood what I was trying to say. And one of her first homeworks for me was to kind of write down my story and to have it ready for the next session and to read it out loud to her. So whenever I was preparing my story, I realized that she gave me instructions to do maybe like 5 pages. And at first it sounded like a lot, but when I began, it was like I was already on page 15. So then I began to, the session came along, and then began to read the paper to her. And while I was reading it to her, without her saying anything to me, she was simply listening. I was answering my own questions. Everything began to make sense on how or why I do the things I do. And it brought up the fact that, a lot of the trauma that we endure during our childhood, if you don't treat it, you begin to carry it into your adulthood. And I feel like I began to realize that that's something that was happening with me. And um, the trauma that I was carrying was that responsibility at a young age to be a caregiver to my grandparents and to kind of be the um, growing up so fast and having that responsibility. So putting yourself in the back burner to be there for everybody else. That's the story that I had in my head, and kind of be a people pleaser because you wanted everybody to feel good about what you were doing for them. So what happens is that whenever I'm 19, 20 years old, I get kicked out of the house, which I'll talk to you more about that in a different video. That's my coming out video, but I get kicked out of the house, and then now I'm living with my boyfriend, So I'm living with my boyfriend. So what do I bring into that relationship? Everything that I had already learned in my childhood. The putting him first, forgetting about me, him priority, and that's never going to be a good scenario. So that happens, and then once that relationship ends, I come back to my parents' house, and what happens? I begin to repeat the cycle again. And during the time that you're going through all this, you don't see that. You just see that you're just living life and things are happening for whatever reason, but you don't realize that you're putting yourself in these situations and you're doing it because it's the no, like you've done this before so many times that it's the norm and you begin to do it all over again. So that was whenever I was answering my own questions, I was like, that's right. All the answers are in me. Like, once again, like how I always repeat, we are looking outside for. I was expecting for her to say, this is what you're doing, this is what you need to do, this and that. But in all reality, it was myself, it was me answering those questions. That's why I always say, work on yourself, that inner love, because it truly is. Though all those answers were in me, and the maybe what I recommend for everyone is to have someone to talk to about anything. So if it's not a therapist, if it's a family member, a friend, a coworker, if it's writing it down, journaling every day, recording yourself like how I am. This is the reason why I began to do these videos, is because whenever I realized that what whenever I was writing down, I was answering my own questions. I was like, I bet with the video it would be the same thing. And sure enough, like the videos that I've recorded already, whenever I look back and watch them, I still answer questions that I have. And back in the beginning of 2022, I shared with my sisters that I was interested in doing like a little podcast like this, and I had like my ideas written down. And months passed by, and they would say, "Hey, I thought you were gonna do a podcast. Why haven't you done anything?" I didn't feel ready. I wasn't in the right mindset. So then that's whenever I began to do the therapy, and now it gave me that strength to begin to do this. And whenever I recorded a video for New Year, I think it was like the 5 things that I've learned in 2022. Whenever I began to listened to what I had recorded, it was like definitely like a puzzle, a piece of a puzzle falling right in place. And the whole concept of I'm the love of my life, it made perfect sense in that moment. Because if you would have asked me that question, not that long ago, like maybe like 2 weeks before that video, I was still gonna answer. I would still be answering. Someone's gonna come into my life, and they're gonna be the love of my life. And to realize that after I recorded that video, and even, I wrote it, that's exactly what I learned, that you have to love yourself. But that was me knowing that. But the moment that I heard myself, it made perfect sense. It was making sense before, but when I say that it was extremely clear, it was so clear whenever I heard it from me whenever I saw that video. And there's been other situations where I'm listening to the video, or kind of like going back into things that I've written down, and I was like, yeah, that's why I do that, is because of this. If you don't feel right, of course, find some help, professional help. If you feel that you need that, speak to a doctor, or like I said, a family member or a friend. But the important thing here is for you to let it out. Don't keep all that in you, because it's not helpful. One of the things that I love about my therapist is that at the end of every session, she's always like, what do you take from this session? And in the beginning, whenever she asked that question, my reply was, I take what I take from this session is that I have a lot of gratitude for acknowledging that something wasn't right, and that I'm taking the steps to make it better for me, to be good for me. And it also gives me a lot of like compassion for individuals that might never do anything about it, because they don't even realize, or they don't even accept that they need to do something for themselves. And when you don't do that, you, for the most part, will stay in the same spot. And me knowing that there's something that needs to be done, and I'm taking steps in the direction, even if it's not huge steps, it's baby steps, but I'm heading in the right direction. And that automatically gives me a lot of gratitude, and I'm so happy for that. And I'm excited for the future. um, right now, 2023, I can tell you that I feel like the old Junior. I feel that 2022, I was in a very dark place, and luckily I've never had any thoughts of hurting myself. I've never even been close to thinking like that. But I was definitely in a space where I felt like, well, this is it. This is my life, and this is what I have to live. Like, this is how it is. And now I don't feel like that. Like, I feel that it's up to me how my life is going to play out from here on. And the possibilities are endless. And every single time that I speak with my therapist, she gives me a lot of hope. And I was telling my sisters and my friends, like, I'm not sure if she gets excited to speak with everyone, but every single time that I speak with her, I see it in her face how excited she is. And she always reminds me that I'm doing good, and she's proud of me. So that helps me out a lot. And whenever I read my story to her, she said, "Hey, have you considered writing a book?" And I was like, it's funny that you say that, because I was actually thinking that. So um, that's one of my goals. In the future, I'm going to have a book. I want to write a book, and I want to publish it, and I want for everyone to buy it and have a copy. Yeah. So whenever I see myself and how far I come along in just a few months, I want to tell you that you can also do that for yourself. And like I said, all the answers are already within you. Maybe you just need someone that can kind of guide you and push you in the right direction. I know that my therapist was that for me. To understand that everything is already in you, it's it's so great because, like I said, for so many years we feel, or I felt, that the answers were somewhere else, and that the love of my life was going to be someone else. And now I understand that it's me, like everything is in here, and I just have to learn how to listen to my inner voice. We all have that inner voice, and for the most part we ignore it, we override it. But listen to it, it's trying to tell you something. And now the big difference, I guess, for me is, um, I really don't just say yes. I really, if I feel it and if I want to, I will do it. But if it doesn't resonate, I just don't even go there no more. Um, as far as friends, not necessarily friends, but just people in general. Like, I'm good, but I'm also good if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I know before I was such a, if I were, if I were to see a guy, I would be like, oh my god, he's so handsome. That's, the love of my life. Wow. I don't see it like that no more. Like now, it's kind of like, cool, like, let's let's prove to each other that we are compatible and that we can, um, be together. But if it doesn't work out, it's totally fine. Like, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like how it was before. I don't see myself, um, in those situations. Which I say that now, and whenever you're standing outside from all that, you maybe see everything with a lot of clarity. But when you're in those situations, it's a total different story. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm very proud of myself. And whenever you begin to work on you, and you become a better version, and you begin to do the things that you make you feel good, it resonates, and it shows, you project that, and the people around you begin to notice it. A lot of my friends and people that know me begin to tell me that, oh, you seem so happy now, this and that. And it's the truth. Like, that's how I feel. So begin to do that, and don't be afraid to talk. A lot of the times, that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of the times, people, whenever it becomes to talking about how you feel, it's such a difficult thing to do. Uh, for me, it's very simple. Like, if you show me that trust and you want to talk, I'll let it all out. But I know that it's not the same for everybody else. So I'm always here if you want to talk about it. I'm a great listener. I love to listen to stories. You learn so much when you listen. So if you ever feel that you need to speak with someone, I'm always here. Please send me a DM. If it's something, that might need more, like, help, there's always professionals that can help you out with that. And this is kind of like my, little story about my mental health issue that or mental health that issues that I had in 2022. I'm working on it. I feel that 2023 is going to be way better. And don't feel that you're going to work on it and it's going to be cured. Like, I feel like it's a constant, day to day, every day you have to remind yourself and be happy for the journey that you're in. So I wish you the best. Thank you so much. This is episode number 4, and I will see you next week. If you have any suggestions on what type of videos you want me to talk about, please let me know in the messages, and I'll talk to you soon. I hope you have a phenomenal week, and I'll see you next week.